what your intentions on this commission are. However, I want to correct the narrative on this one point and let you and your colleagues know that voting to have the charter reviewed is, in fact, a vote for changing the charter. There is no reason to review it after 40 years except to change it. I don't think anyone who voted for Jody Washington voted for not changing the charter. I don't think anyone who voted for Jasmine Anderson voted for not changing the charter. I don't think anyone who voted for Lori Adams Simon voted for not changing the charter. And I suspect that all the people who voted for any of the 27 other candidates who didn't get a seat on the commission voted for changing the charter. If you think that because the people who receive the most votes are old guard mainstream people and that means that you should do nothing for the next couple of years, you are mistaken. Commissioner Boyd, you are, by your own admission, an obstructionist. As I understand your belief, you are representing people who do not want to see a change in the makeup of our city council or the number of wards that we have. You are representing the people who do not want to sever the mayor-city attorney relationship. You are representing the people who do not want to change the board appointment process, particularly where it concerns the Board of Water and Light. As far as I can tell, you are representing them very well. Pining for the past is not going to make it return. Holding on to rules that were created before our community was infiltrated with dishonesty and mistrust will not solve the problems we have today and don't want to carry into the future. Perhaps the best you could do for the most people of Lansing is step down and let someone who is willing to do the work of the people take your place. I would like to encourage the commissioners who understand.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have Randy Dykhuis, followed by Heath Lowry.
Hi, Randy Dykhuis, 418 North Sycamore. Tonight, I'm here to talk a bit about Article 4, which is on your agenda. And I'd like to advocate for the creation of a Sustainability and Environmental Affairs Department in the Charter. Other Michigan cities have departments that are either highly situated offices dedicated to sustainability, or they have their own separate departments for sustainability and environmental affairs. These include Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, and of course Detroit. Lansing does currently have a sustainability manager within the Public Services Department, but it is quite a ways down the hierarchy without equal standing to the highest administrative levels in the city. This needs to change. Lansing is already seeing the effects of a warming world and is guaranteed to see many more challenges in the years ahead. We need a city department that is well-staffed and focused on how we as a city are going to not only make the best adaptations possible to increasingly erratic weather patterns, but also steps that can be taken to mitigate the emission of greenhouse gases that will make those weather patterns worse, and that will work to increase its supply of energy from clean, renewable resources. It is a department that would have direct impact on the public health. For example, residents would experience direct health benefits from lower levels of water, air, and solid waste pollution, as well as restoration of Lansing's tree canopy, which has been decimated over the last decade. This would happen if a department like this existed and was established as equal to departments such as fire, police, public service, and parks. Some might say that a department like this is too expensive. I would say it's too expensive not to do it. I would ask those people who say that to put a price on the health and welfare of Lansing residents as they struggle to cope with ever stronger storms, increased flooding, and other unpredictable weather events. Others may say that much of this work is already being done in existing city departments. A central department that handled all this work would be much more efficient, leading to less duplication and greater responsiveness to unforeseen events, while being much better able to plan for the future. A sustainability and environmental affairs department is needed, and now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Heath Lowry, followed by Trini Pelavanoglu.
Good evening. As you know, my name is Heath Lowry, proud 4th Ward resident in the West Side. First, I'm here to say that, as always, I support the expansion of the number of wards within our city for better representation. I will say that we recently had a West Side Neighborhood Association meeting, and several of my neighbors also supported this. I believe even some sent emails that I saw just before this meeting that are included in the packet. It seems to have a real groundswell of support, and I think you should all take that deeply into consideration when structuring city council. Second, I just want to second what Randy was just saying about a Department of Sustainability, and I think it's a very useful asset for our city, and it can really set us up for success in the future. And lastly, I want to say that the investigative powers of City Council, which is found in the parts of the charter that you're all discussing, should be strengthened to the highest extent possible. The amount of transparency found in city government can be increased. City Council regularly has public meetings, and for the people to know what's actually happening within their city government, strengthening City Council to call other officials and staff before these hearings and making sure that information is brought to the public. It could best serve citizens to make sure that our city government actually represents the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Trini Pelavanoglu, followed by Stan Schuck.
Hello, good evening, commissioners. I did submit several points to you earlier today in writing, and I'd like to go over a few of those points now. When it comes to at-large and ward representations, that's been a topic that's been highly discussed. I'd like to say that I personally find meaning in the work that I do and the residents that I serve, and I take my at-large service very seriously. It's my opinion that leadership will come down to the person who is elected, regardless of at-large or ward representation. Over time, we've seen effective and ineffective service in each role. It's my hope that charter commissioners have done their due diligence in researching facts, metrics, and available data, as well as taking public comment to provide the best representation for all of us here in Lansing. When it comes to committee boards and appointments, currently all applicants are vetted through the mayor's office prior to coming to committee for the appointment process. I have two suggestions. The first option would be that all applicants are first sent to council through committee, and after fully vetting all applicants in an open meeting, the selected applicant would then be sent to the mayor's office. Or I suggest that if the current system does continue, the mayor's office will forward all applicants along with the selected applicant from his office in order to move forward. This does speak to a transparency piece that I believe President Cost mentioned at your previous meeting. As to Board of Water and Light, I suggest that Article 3, Chapter 4, Section 3-402.8 should be altered or eliminated. The City of Lansing as a whole, each department and affiliated agency is subject to an internal and external audit each year, and I believe that Board of Water and Light should be treated the same. As for the City Attorney's Office, there has been some conversation about equal representation. The City Attorney serves both the Mayor's Office and City Council. I suggest a concept for your attorney to look into that is modeled after the State of Michigan Attorney General's Office, which would enact a conflict wall. By utilizing a conflict wall, there's no communication between the attorneys assigned to research and represent each office in a singular matter. Any internal electronic documents are protected and restricted by passwords or firewalls, and I believe this could be utilized whether the Charter Commission decides to have an appointed or an elected city attorney. As for the Internal Auditor's Office, I do agree that we need additional staff in order to achieve the aggressive timeline of audits throughout the city. Annual reviews should be conducted for all city employees, including contracted employees. And I do believe a strategic plan should be implemented as part of the charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Stan Schuck, followed by Michael Dombrowski.
Good evening. Haven't seen you guys in a while. I'd like to say that after watching the quiet part said out loud, that as a candidate for the commission, you know, people do want change. I've been an advocate for the city manager for a decade because I have watched as a union representative and an employee for over 3 decades of the city. I've watched what the strong mayor system has done and how we've been controlled by developers for decades. For my entire life, we've been controlled by developers. Remember, even Joel Ferguson had the audacity to say in public that he owns the city council. And he did, and they do. And people do expect change. That is why they voted to have people look and revisit the charter. There are several things in there. You know, first and foremost, we can't afford more years of no maintenance, more years of over 100 vacancies. That's in the millions and millions of dollars with benefits. ZipRecruiter says, you know, you're upwards of $14,700,000 in vacancies with benefits. A city manager would end that. That would be one of their main duties, is to manage the workforce and to make sure that our dollars are well spent. And like East Lansing just had to pay their people back. You know, we need to look at how our money's spent. And these audits, you know, having that budget audited is one thing, but having a departmental audit is where the audits need to be. Because once we give these departments some money through credit cards or whatever, grants, you know, it doesn't matter. The money is being misused, misspent, and we can't continue this. We can't continue with no maintenance, no employees. This last snowfall and the condition of the roads should show everybody in the city how much change we need. And, you know, like the mayor said, as far as the appointments go, until the charter changes, he's not going to change. And why would he? Same with the Board of Water and Light. Until the charter changes, they're not going to change their way of doing business. They have the right to do anything that's in the best interest of the Board of Water and Light, that they, key word, decide is in the best interest of the Board of Water and Light. Dick was on the news tonight for the new energy on the south side. Will it decrease the energy cost? I wouldn't expect that, he said, and we don't expect it. It's outrageous. The smart meters, look at William Bathgate and his testimony to the legislature of the state of Michigan and how smart meters are 16% more in cost. We need to look at all these.
Thank you.
Change the charter.
We have Michael Dombrowski, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
Hello, I want to talk to you about advisory boards. I've been on the Parks Board for the last 5 years and the chair for 2, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the board. Firstly, we need a lot more transparency in the application process. There's an inherent conflict of interest in that the person being overseen in his departments is the person that controls the application process. There's no insight, the board has no insight into who applies, who gets selected, why they're selected until they show up one day and they're on the board. And I think that can lead to some interesting dynamics. So I kind of agree with what Trini was saying, where we need to move that application process out of the mayor's office and have it be controlled by council. Secondly, there's no support for the boards, at least in my experience. The department that we're overseeing benefits from having an ineffective board, right? Their job is easier when we are ineffective. Because we are always asking questions, offering changes, trying to bring in public participation. So anything that, we've never had any formal, besides an annual ethics training, we've never had any training. No one from council has come to train us. No one from the city's attorney's office has ever come to train us and teach us about how to be an effective board. What are examples of things that other communities are doing to have effective oversight. We've had none of that. And lastly, one of our roles is to provide policy changes or proposals to say, we want you to do a better job with X, Y, or Z. Of my time on the board, we've done this exactly one time. We spent a lot of time collecting feedback that basically the department doesn't collect feedback about the projects that it works on. It just does a project. And we got a lot of complaints after the fact, and we said, hey, you should develop a public participation policy. This is a thing that exists in other cities around the country. We wrote a letter, we voted it out, it went to council, it went to mayor. Never heard anything about it since then from mayor or council. And what the department has done is basically turned around and said, you guys get to do it. So we are collecting some public participation. A all volunteer run board is now doing something that we recommended the department do. So yeah, it's been upsetting to kind of be a part of this and to say that we put a lot of work into this and then it just goes up into smoke. We don't get to see the changes that we think the city should adopt. So I'd encourage you to make some changes to make our lives easier and to, yeah, I mean, we're getting feedback from citizens to improve the Parks Department. So let's make some changes. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Zandy, followed by Brad Jure.
Took you a while to get to me, but here I go. So, I'm Nicholas Zandy, and I'm the president of the Old Everett Neighborhood Association. And as a neighborhood leader, just like Keith Lowry, I also echo his sentiments in wanting to increase the number of wards. And I am also deeply upset, in all due respect to Commissioner Boyd, that she has said something about how the people didn't vote for change by opening up the charter. I'll tell you this much. I actually spoke about the way the wards are structured earlier than most other people actually did on the main street. And I don't want to give myself too much of an ego, but it was mostly because of my efforts that people actually started talking about the charter in the first place. So I find that not changing the wards would be an insult to that discussion, because the wards were the main reason why the charter was even brought up in the first place. And having said that, even if we're not going to consider that as a motivation, I'll just show you a list of neighborhoods that are divided between two wards. There is first Colonial Village, which is divided between wards 3 and 4 by Mount Hope. That is a major street, I'll give you that much, and it is divided evenly, but it's still divided nonetheless, meaning that they have 2 council members representing them, and they're like-minded people who are divided between 2 wards. And then there's Lansing Holt or Willoughby, I don't know what it's called, but it's part of Lansing that's near Holt. And it's divided between the 2nd and 3rd Ward by Washington. And you're like, well, that's another major street. Well, another problem with that is that there's I-96 just north of it, isolating the part of Lansing Holt that's in the 3rd Ward from the rest of the 3rd Ward and the rest of its own precinct. And it's been so bad that people living in an old trailer park right there, they were forced to evacuate because of their sewage system going all wonky. Just to say the least. But worst of all is Clifford Park, which is not only not divided evenly, it's not divided by a major street. It's divided by Tisdale of all streets, which is just a regular old neighborhood street. This is proof that we need to increase the number of wards so that we don't have to split these communities up too much. Again, Clifford Park is split between 1 and 2, which Ryan Cost raised with you. So I wish I had more time, and I probably will discuss at the end. So please consider increasing the number of wards.
Thank you. Next, we have Brad Jure, followed by Nancy Malo.
Good evening. My name is Brad Jure. I represent the Lansing Firefighters. I am president of Local 421 IFF, Lansing Firefighters. I submitted a possible charter amendment a while back to speak on the language in section 4303.5. The old language states that the department shall maintain and operate such ambulance, inhalator, and other life-saving emergency services as the welfare of the inhabitants of the city may require and council may direct. I just want to put this in front of the board that this language is very outdated. We have not used an inhalator, and that fell out of practice in the 70s. I feel as though we could do better with a charter amendment to better solidify the Lansing Fire Department and the gold standard of care that we've come to serve these people over the years. I believe this is a community investment, this proposed charter change. The Lansing citizens have consistently invested in the Lansing Fire Department for years upon years, whether it's a millage or the bond. Right now, the citizens have showed up, and we owe it to the citizens to continue to be the gold standard care in EMS services. You can go speak to our communities to the north and south of us who are dealing with private ambulances companies at this time. Private ambulance companies have continued to promise the world and not be able to deliver on these promises. I would hate for these fine citizens of Lansing that my fellow brothers and sisters have took an oath to protect, to lose this investment. This has been a long investment over years and years and years that we want to solidify and continue to grow for the community of Lansing. I want to read you the old some of the example of the proposed language. We feel as though that the department shall maintain and operate an ambulance service of advanced life support and other life-saving and emergency services necessary for the welfare and inhabitants of the city. The Lansing Fire Department is designated as primary provider of emergency medical services, ensuring the highest standards of care as directed by council. Just a small change, solidifying us as the primary EMS provider for the city of Lansing. We believe that once we bring this outdated language up to contemporary and modern times, it better represents what we do as a fire department. It also, we are able as the Lansing Fire Department, if we are considered to be the primary EMS provider of the city, we are able to integrate with other city services. And when a big event happens, we are able to speak with the city garage, the mayor, city council, the EOC. This is all valuable. I wish I had more time to speak because I could go on for hours and hours about this, but thank you for your time, and I hope you can consider our amendment change.
Thank you. Next, we have Nancy Malo, followed by Linda Epling.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nancy Malo, East Side. I am here as a voter. When I cast that vote, it was to make serious needed changes to this charter. We did not vote to waste taxpayers' money for you to just review it. We are expecting to see those changes to bring our charter into the 21st century. Lastly, I strongly agree with Randy and others regarding a sustainability department. This charter is completely out of date, and I think you all know that. And for someone to make the comment that it was only to review is an insult to the voters of Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Epling, followed by Frederick McLaughlin.
Right now, I am here in terms of addressing the council on the number of at-large individuals. I would like it to be clear that my position on this is that currently the council has 4 at-large members, and I fully support keeping the at-large number of positions. What, in terms of the council itself? The 4 at-large members, they have a significant impact in terms of what happens. Not only that, the fact is that they tend to be more calmer in terms of the areas that they go to. Now, I'm aware that one of the claims that the 4 at-large members should be eliminated is based on the need in terms of increasing the number of overall members. For some reason, it appears that people believe, or some individuals believe, that this will give greater input in terms of what is happening by the citizens of this city. However, I would like to point out that no proof of this assertion exists. In fact, if you look at the current composition of the council, you find that the at-large members account for a significant number of protected group members, and I am extremely concerned about maintaining that. The second argument in terms of having against the 4 at-large council members is that the focus on the mistaken belief that this allows for an infusion of money into the election or its outcome. This argument lacks any support at all. One, smaller units will be easier to influence by finances. The prime example of this is the U.S. House of Representatives. Increasingly, the House is swayed by the amount of money flowing into the districts. Due to the small nature of the areas, i.e. districts, it is easy to influence the outcome of the election. This is in direct contrast to the U.S. Senate, where areas are larger and the degree of money to influence the outcome has to be significantly more. Come on. Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have Frederick McLaughlin, followed by Farhan Sheikh Omar.
Good to see you all again. Frederick McLaughlin, 1407 West Holmes Road, Lansing, 48910. I wanted to say that it's really good that this evening you're finally coming to what I consider to be the very heart of the document that you're looking to improve. And what I mean by that is the Article 4 section on the Planning Commission. To me, that's the very reason for the document, is to form a community. And that's where it gets formed. All the planning is done there. It's done relative to roads, homes, businesses, everything. Now, all the other services that are spoken to in the document, of course, are very important. But the thing to remember, I think, is the word community. And I've raised this point before. And the reason for raising that is to say that I don't see city government as an investment firm. And I get the feeling that there's too much of that attitude in the outlook on the document, not just among this commission, but others as well. But in any case, there are really serious issues that need to be dealt with in a much more practical way. As the, how are we doing on time? Okay. As the project architect for the, back in 1978, and I mentioned this the other evening at a Southside meeting for the Darius, or is it Darius Moon House? And it was, I did an addition for that way back then. And the house was moved over onto Huron Street to make it safe and allow it to be preserved, which was great at the time. And as I also mentioned the other evening, and I think it bears repeating, is that what I should have done is I should have followed up by doing what I did in getting involved with an I-69 group in getting that route moved by the federal government over to where it now is between Lansing and Charlotte instead of heading out toward Grand Ledge, which was the original plan. What needed to be done with Logan Street is not widening it, but to find other solutions. If you speak with engineers and ask for an honest opinion, you'll find out that basically they're driven by feeling compelled to present a road project to produce jobs. I mean, they're pressured by that. Affordable homes is the same sort of thing. There needs to be. That's it.
Thank you very much.
I can do it.
And finally, we have Farhan Sheikh Omar.
Good evening, everybody. Farhan Omar. I'm here to address the council position at large versus ward. It's very easy to me. I've been in this country, in this city for 20 years. In the 20 years that I've been here, I have witnessed ward members holding constituents throughout the year. I want to ask you, when was the last time you've been to a at-large member that has hosted a constituents meeting, Ben? Right? Never. What about you, Jasmine? Never. What about you, Mr. Muhammad? Oh, just last week. Okay. What about last year? Because at-large didn't just get created this year. What about last year? Nothing. What about the year before that? Nothing. Has anybody else over here attended an at-large constituents meeting? Okay, just last week. Okay. That right there speaks volume, because we're talking about the other half of council not being held accountable to the same standards that the ward members are being held. At the end of the day, these people have the same voting power. It doesn't change anything, whether we add more wards or more council members or eliminate the at-large positions, they're all gonna have the same voting power. So how is it that all these years that we've had these at-large positions, they didn't hold a single constituents meeting? Constituent meetings are very important. When you show up to a council meeting, you only get 3 minutes to speak. A constituents meeting, you get like an hour where you get one-on-one with your council member. You ask questions, they tell you what's going on. At-large members haven't been doing that for the 20 years that I've been in this country, in this city. And there's many of you guys that have been living here longer than me. So that right there tells me that the at-large membership is not working. Let's talk about elections. In order for somebody to run for an at-large position, you have to easily have $50,000, if not more. $50,000. How many people in this city who truly want to make a difference in this city have $50,000? Nobody. So the people who are running for these at-large positions are privileged people who have connections, who get outside money, and that's the only way you get to an at-large position. Look at the campaign finances. I challenge all of you guys, go look at the campaign finances. We're talking about $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just to run for an at-large position in this city. Who's donating that? It's not Lansing residents that's giving them that money. It's big corporations, big businesses. So you guys have an opportunity to change that. It is very important that we change the at-large position, eliminate that, make it all ward. That brings more accountability and transparency and more representation to this community.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you. Under officer reports, Chair, I have none. Madam Vice Chair?
No report.
Mr. Clerk?
No report other than the communications in your packet.
Thank you. We're to old business. We have just some hopefully quick cleanups on Article 2 and 3. I think we have one change that we're going to consider in each article. I guess, Kristen, I'd turn that over to you for your, I think
Right,
you gave
thank
us some correspondence dated January 31st.
Yes, it's starting on page 16 of your packet. The first item is section 2-103.2 default. We've been talking about this for a while. Where we left it off at the last meeting is Commission asked me to come back with some language to really clarify that measuring default includes the time that a person files for office. Put that language in there so that it's clear during elections. So I do have, and if you go on to page 17, the proposed added language here is stated there that no person seeking elective office shall be in default to the city at the time such person files for office or at any time during the person's candidacy or term of office. But then inserting that language then into the proposed larger whole, I did maintain the two alternate for you to consider. The first section, or the first option, does not include adding a time frame to get into compliance. The second one does, and it's a 15-day. I couldn't remember whether you were interested in doing a time frame to sort of cure a default or not, so I left that in there, but added that new language to those two options.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Does anybody have any questions about the changes? Kristen, I would ask in terms of the second option, or pardon me, the first option that does not include the 15-day right to cure or whatever we're going to call it. It does have the language that the city shall develop through an ordinance such procedures to ensure that the provisions of this section continue to be met during the officer's term of office. If the council wanted to consider that time period or a time period to cure the problem, could it be handled by the ordinance?
I think it could be, yes. Because remember, too, the situation, if somebody is in default, yes, you could, and then understanding there's still the option of potential for forfeiture. But, yeah, I think that could be done.
I mean, from my perspective, I'd rather have council go back and develop an ordinance that they would feel comfortable with. I think we're giving them the direction in terms of the scope of what we wanted to do. I think this has been an issue we've talked a lot about, and I think we're hitting on all the marks. So I would encourage, I cannot bring the motion, but I would encourage the first option as the amendment to this section. Is there a motion? Or Commissioner Bauer?
Just to clarify, so you don't think we need the 15 days?
No, I think I would like council develop an ordinance
Their
that
own?
would figure out what, if it's 15, 30, none,
Okay.
let them figure it out. Councilmember Lopez, or Commissioner Lopez.
So, council has already some powers that they have failed to use. So I believe that if we, at least in the charter state, you have 15 days to do it. They can choose not to do it anyway, but at least it's in the charter. If we leave it with nothing, they can just, as usual, as happens often, they choose not to do anything. So this would be kind of like giving them a little push to act.
Vice Chair.
And I agree with Commissioner Lopez. Obviously, in the past, hasn't been much oversight when it came to the council or their responsibilities, and they'd really be governing themselves because this would, in fact, impact them. So if we put it in the charter, then that removes their responsibility to ensure that this is taken care of and the rules are followed.
Well, I think this, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
If I'm understanding the amendment correctly, council has to create an ordinance that deals with this.
Under either option, yes, that language is in there, and the idea being it could include, this sort of escape valve to allow someone to cure a default before, it becomes an issue. The other idea, or the other use for that is to provide a mechanism by which the city council can develop what it did for itself in terms of its rules for at the beginning of every year, or some process of, this is how we're going to ensure that you're still, not in default, whether it's a yearly affidavit or whatever. But getting into allowing an ordinance to develop the more nitty gritties of how this is going to be enacted.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Anybody want to make a motion? Whoa. Go ahead. Officer Commissioner Cui.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the second one and put the 15 days and leave that in there as a proposal.
Is there any discussion?
Address.
Comments? Is there a second? Sorry.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions? Anything? On the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Okay, we're to Article 3, Section 3-207.
This is a provision that the board already enacted, the commission already enacted changes to, but there was discussion about putting in some anti-retaliation provisions within the charter. And the discussion was first whether it's in this section or whether it's somewhere else. And as I had indicated last time, I thought it may be better to put it in Article 6, but which deals specifically with city employees, but to the extent you wanted to create an anti-retaliation provision specific to just this limitation of people being called upon or participating with a city council legislative process or investigation, that language could be put specifically into Section 3-207 as a new, as I propose a new point 6 into that section. This language is taken from the Whistleblower Protection Act. So really, the Whistleblower Protection Act does provide coverage to protect someone who is called upon to participate in an inquiry or investigation of a public body like the commission. But to the extent you really wanted to hammer that home and clarify to people that this is important to the city to include this provision, I did provide some language for you to review.
Any discussions on the proposed amendment?
For the sake of discussion, I'll move with support.
So that would be a motion to amend the amended article, is it 3-207? I'm sorry, that would then be a motion to amend the amended article 3-207 by adding the new subsection 207.6. Is there support?
Yes.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? I think this kind of gets to where the discussion that we've had the last couple of meetings on this. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, now to Article 4. So we had received back in January 3rd some correspondence from our attorney regarding Article 4 with some language considerations. And then we've also received a second correspondence dated January 31st with some further clarifications and amendments. So, Kristen, I'd have you start on your January 3rd
Okay.
letter, if you would, please.
And some of this, I think the idea is just some thoughts as you're doing your line-by-line review later on tonight. First of all, I anticipate there'll be a discussion on the city attorney section of the charter. This was just to provide some guidance on some of the law concerning that. The Home Rule Cities Act does state that the charter should provide for the selection of the officers considered necessary. The city attorney is not specifically stated in the Home Rule Cities Act, but it's very common for the selection of the city attorney to be stated in a city charter. So certainly that can be added there. One of the other things that has come up through the discussions is whether a city attorney could be an elected official. I did reach out to the MAMA, it's Michigan Association of Municipal Attorneys, their general counsel. There are no cities in Michigan that elect their city attorney. That's not to say, I don't believe that there is a prohibition. I don't think this Home Rule Cities Act prohibits it. But there's certainly considerations and different handling if you're going to have an elected official versus someone who is either appointed or hired by a public, the council or the mayor or however it is. So to the extent you would want to have an elected office, the city attorney has an elected office, I think you'd have to have a real conversation about who is the client for the city attorney and who are they supposed to report to. And this is often not perhaps I don't want to say understood, but appreciated. The client is the city itself. And in that regard, the city attorney has the ethical duty to represent the city and the city's interests, which often would include and reporting to and working with the legislative body, the chief executive officer, but then also employees. And it can get, the ethics behind that can be varied. And sometimes rather difficult because, it's often a situation where the city itself, your client, doesn't have a face, so it's who are the faces that represent the city in that situation. To the extent you wanted to consider an elected office, there would be legally some limitations on the qualifications for the office you could put on there. There is, again, because there's no city attorney elected, there's been no case law on this, but we do have some case law about challenges to city charters, putting qualifications on other attorney-type offices, and that would include a judge. So if that's something you're wanting to explore, we can talk about that. And just here to kind of discuss any other issues you'd want to talk about when we get to the city attorney section. Larger conversation that I'm sure we'll get to later. The few other issues, 4-102 just appeared to have a typo in a couple spots that we recommended correcting when we get there. And then 4-301 departments, and I think this flows into Commissioner Boyd's recommendation of when you get into departments, and there were, I think, some proposals about what that section should look like. We recommended looking at the section to perhaps not list the 20 agencies or departments in there, or at the very least get rid of the ones that no longer exist. So that's, again, something for consideration. There was a procedure for an executive reorganization plan at 4-301, an initial reorganization plan. Again, there's some language in there that refers specifically to January 31, 1979, which I believe is probably some implementation language for when the charter, this version of the charter was impacted or first enacted. So that language, at very least, could be stricken as obsolete and unnecessary. There are some references in this section to affirmative action, which under the Michigan Constitution, affirmative action is not something that public bodies are permitted to do. So we would recommend that you look at changing that language. I would say striking affirmative action and maybe changing it to some other sort of diversity type language that is consistent with the city's desire and I guess philosophy behind the importance of diversity. So.
Before we move into the next review, I think maybe what we should do is just can we get Article 4 up to go through line by line? Okay. I think we should probably go through the article line by line and then take these changes that have been proposed when they come up instead of, I think it would make it quicker, a little easier to understand, so.
And
Commissioner Cui, go ahead.
And could we, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cui, and then.
could we also, as we're going through this, Councilwoman Penagalago gave us recommendations on the language for city attorney and how we might deal with that. Could we listen to that as well from her letter? I don't have her letter in front of me, but I think Emery has it. Came in today. And she mentioned it at the podium tonight.
We'll see what we can do. Commissioner Cool.
My question was to the attorney. You said you had reviewed, there was no council in Michigan that voted for the city attorney.
Correct.
Did you find any language in there that spoke on or referred to the city council members having outside counsel, and then how that was covered in those different councils in other cities?
I think Commissioner Jeffries actually, Chair Jeffries actually had some language that he had offered up. So that's certainly, I think, a conversation when you get to that section to look at, talk about.
But did you find any of those other cities that you reviewed?
I did not do a robust review of a lot of different cities at this point on the city attorney discussion, because I want to hear where you all's heads are at before I go kind of finding things. I will say it's not uncommon for cities to have outside counsel either as their primary attorney or the ability to hire special for special purposes, either for a litigation or some highly specialized purpose. So language could be put in if that's something that's desired.
The language that I proposed, which was in the packet, came from I believe it's the Pontiac City Charter, and there are a bunch of other charters out there that address this issue in different ways. And so there is authority out there for that. Emery, are we close? No? Jack, are we close in getting up the copy of Article 4 on the monitors? Is Jack back there?
He says just a few minutes.
Okay. I guess just to take care of some of the quicker business, in Article 4-102.3 and .12, in the correspondence that we just went through, there are two typos that are there. And they've been identified, and so if there's no objection, we'll go ahead and make those changes in the charter. So we'll consider that taken care of at this time. I mean, we could start this. The only problem is the public is not going to be able to see what it is that we're working on. What is the pleasure of the board? Start moving or to wait? Start? Okay.
Some of it's very light work.
Yeah. Okay, on Article 4 is the executive branch, 4-101, mayor. Does anybody have any changes that would be through, I'm not sure what your sections are, but it would be 4-101. Are there any changes, corrections that anybody wants to make to that section? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a motion, I guess. Yeah, we'll do it by chapter. In Section 4, or Chapter 4-102, Obligations of Leadership, Point 1 talks about, and we've discussed this is the strong mayor form of government. We approved this language, I think, at one of our relatively first new meetings. Point 2 talks about the mayor and the executive assistants' duty to attend council meetings. I believe Commissioner Boyd presented a proposal to remove that requirement to attend. And this is in our January 31st correspondence that's indicating that there are no requirements in the Home Rule City Act for the chief executive to attend council meetings when the person is not a member of council. We can change it from shall to may, but there's also other language in our charter, section -3-207, that authorizes council to require the attendance of any official at their meetings, which would include the mayor. So as it reads now, it's mandatory, it shall, they shall attend. We can amend that to may, with the understanding that council at any time can request that they attend, make it mandatory, actually, or we can leave it as it is. Councilmember, Madam Vice Chair.
Yes, I disagree with that. I think the mayor, he was elected to do a job, and he should be present. If he's not present, then his deputy mayor should be present. That's what we pay them to do. That is the word of a deputy mayor to represent the mayor in his absence. So I think it should be mandatory that the mayor or the deputy mayor shall attend all regular and special meetings of the city council.
Okay, so your vote is to leave as is.
Well, I think I don't like the executive assistant. It should be, the language should be changed to deputy mayor. Yeah.
Oh,
It
I
says
see where you're
executive
going.
assistant. And we have a deputy mayor now,
Yeah,
and we need to hold all of them accountable.
I think that, so when we get to chapter 2, under executive staff, we'd make the change of the title there. Is that what you're?
No, I think we should make the change the title now and fill it out later, because that's what it's saying now. So if we move to accept that now, yeah. If we skip that now, we're going to go back and change it. In this article, we could change it now and go forward and
Okay.
continually change it.
There was some discussion about making it a chief.
Administrative officer.
Yeah,
Administrative officer. But we
Yeah.
have a deputy mayor that we pay $180,000 to. What is that role?
I understand. So are we going to have an executive assistant and
No,
a chief administrative officer?
the mayor or the deputy mayor.
Or are we going to have a deputy mayor and a chief executive officer? Or, I mean, is that where we're going?
That's not where I'm going, but it was the pleasure of the body. That's not where I'm going at all.
Commissioner Anderson?
It's my understanding that those roles should be one and the same. I don't think
Right.
that, right. So whatever the title is, we need to decide on what the title is and then
Okay.
move forward.
All right, so,
I think, and she's right, that was my comment too.
Okay.
Somewhere in the body of the charter, it should say deputy mayor, so that that position is actually,
so would that be, if looking at the charter, would that be chapter 2? Under executive staff, would that then be
Yes.
deputy
Yes.
mayor? Okay. All right, so,
Right.
all right. Commissioner Boyd.
I agree with Commissioner Kwawe, because right now we have a deputy mayor, but I don't to be honest with you, I'm not sure under what circumstances the mayor has hired the deputy mayor. Has the mayor just hired a guy and called him the deputy mayor?
Yeah.
Or is he the deputy mayor? I don't know. But if we put it in the charter language, then we will have a deputy mayor.
Well, we've always had one.
Right, but
Ju-
not
it
always,
wasn't-
and
it
always
wasn't
haven't been
recognized.
used.
Commissioner Anderson.
I personally don't love the title deputy mayor because I think it gives the impression that even though we have an outline of what happens if the mayor can't serve, it gives the impression that they're next in line and they're not. It is just a position. And so I think that the title deputy mayor is misleading and we should use chief, whatever you were saying earlier. I
But
don't
who serves
remember.
as the chief administrative officer?
I think the deputy mayor in that position is one and the same,
Well,
All right,
okay.
right?
Commissioner Lopez.
In some discussions before, we discussed the fact that we should put some basic requirements for the chief executive officer or assistant mayor, whatever the title is, but that at least that person, whoever he or she may be, would have to have certain qualifications for the position. And a mayor could not just hire anybody that didn't have those qualifications for that, call it number 2 position in the mayor's office. We talked about that.
Sure, yes.
Okay, So I don't want to lose that discussion as we talk about this.
Okay. Commissioner Kui?
I do believe currently for that executive assistant or chief operating officer, whatever you want to call them, there's already a job description or classification for that position.
I'm not sure if they're.
We don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the position
Right.
bet
to
like
be
to
in the
find out.
charter, say, the mayor will hire whoever they need, but that person needs to have
Well,
basic qualifications.
But then who would be the overseer to say that that person meets the qualifications beside the mayor?
I'm sorry?
Who would be the checks and balance to say, besides the mayor, to say that that person has that qualifications or not?
Well, I mean, you have the mayor's office, he or she has assistants, right? One of them would be the chief assistant, and obviously they have to come through the personnel hiring system to some degree. And you say, who's gonna oversee that second person?
Currently, right now, I do believe that person was appointed by the mayor, am I correct?
Correct.
Well, I'm not talking about overseeing that person, the mayor oversees that person.
there we go.
But the person needs to have certain qualifications
All right.
to be the,
But who is the, exactly, again, who would tell the mayor if that person does or does not meet the qualifications, whatever has come up?
I would
If
assume
he
they
feels that,
post
if
a
he feels,
position.
he or she feels that that person has that qualification, it wouldn't matter what we put out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would, if I may, it would cause the mayor to have to post a position with these requirements of the person hired, if it's in the charter.
So, Kristen, let me ask you this question. So, a lot of the provisions in here, when it talks about qualifications, particularly boards, commissions, department heads, they're set by an ordinance that is created with city council and the mayor. Is this something that would be an ordinance that would, the job description created by an ordinance? And if it is this position go through the same hiring process as everybody else in terms of the posting and the review through HR and?
I think it depends, given that this is a high-level position that is selected by the mayor. Given its sort of gravity and how high level it is, it does tend to be more of a selection by the person selecting. It's not uncommon to say, whichever executive or elected official may have whatever deputies or whatever assistants they need, that tends to be more driven by that individual. That being said, it's not uncommon, even if a provision is provided for in the charter, for there to have developed job descriptions. Just because as an employment law matter, that's good practice to do that. So likely it's a combination. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it now, but functionally how it could work is you could provide some guidance in the charter, although I think you want to leave that kind of vague because things change and needs of your mayor changes. But it would still have to, I would hope and expect that the mayor would still sort of collaborate with their human resources professionals to develop that job description. But it wouldn't typically be like a civil service position. So.
Commissioner Lopez?
Well, I think we're doing this for the people, not for the mayor necessarily, whoever he or she may be. What I'm talking about is to have some sort of requirements that talk about knowledge in finance, in running cities.
Right.
I'm not talking about anything else. So the mayor in charge can hire whoever they want as long as they have these qualifications.
Sure, yeah, and that's certainly, and that's up for discussion about what those qualifications are. I don't think you want to I think you want to be a little more general in what the qualifications are in a charter, because again, it's going to be very difficult to change later. But providing some, and some charters are just, qualified people, and leaving it very broad to the city administration on how to develop that. But you certainly can provide some parameters on that, as has already been done to a certain extent with, I think, already. But yeah, you can provide some parameters to that.
Madam Vice Chair.
In a deputy mayor, I would like to see that person have the qualities of understanding municipalities as well as understanding the day-to-day operations and administrations of the city. That should be a main qualification. But to my knowledge right now, this position is appointed. So we don't know what the qualifications are for that. But what you're saying, Commissioner Lopez, which I agree with, I don't think there's a position description, but there should be some parameters to that. And I absolutely agree with that. Like, I wouldn't want to be in charge of another department and they just put me as the deputy mayor when I'm not really understanding the daily operations of the city.
Okay.
You can look at the city manager's job description, and it could be some of those parameters, not all entirely, but that's really what the executive assistant or chief of staff does, is really run the day-to-day operations of the city, I think, or I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, I think we have to be a little careful in terms of strong mayor form of government versus, that's what we've said. If you want to tone that down, I don't think that's where we want to go. But Kristen, can you come up with some language then in terms of kind of a broad kind of job description that would fit, you would think, in the charter?
So, what do you, I need more policy guidance. So I think I heard Commissioner Simon say knowledge of, I guess, city operations.
Administration, city operations, and experience in municipalities.
So, well, Commissioner Boyd.
I'm looking at Article 4, Section 201, which talks about executive staff, whatever we want to call that person. And it sort of outlines what that person will be responsible for, and it seems very general. And I'm wondering, is that what we're looking to replace? Because to me, this seems pretty general as is, and sort of covers the issues that we talked about, regardless of what their name is or their title. Thank you.
Well, so are you looking at point 3? The last?
No, I'm looking at Chapter 2, Executive Staff.
Yep.
Article 4, 201.
Yep.
Point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4.
Point 3, the last sentence there. Is that what you're?
All of it, to me. The executive assistant, or whatever we would call that person, whatever title we would assign, shall be appointed solely on the basis of the person's ability to exercise the powers and perform the duties conferred upon that person pursuant to the charter, or which may be assigned to that person by the mayor. The person should have the ability, have been demonstrated by relevant executive or administrative experiences in a federal, state, or municipal government, or by equivalent experiences in a field other than government. And the section above that says that that person may be directed to act on behalf of the mayor with other officers of the city for the purpose of coordinating departments, the development of the budget, communication with council, blah, blah. To me, we've already outlined kind of what that person would do. End of story. All we need is a new title.
That's what we're doing. Go ahead.
I move that we change the title of executive assistant to the mayor to deputy mayor.
Support.
Or deputy to the mayor in section 4-201. Deputy to the mayor. To the mayor, because it says executive assistant right now.
All right. Commissioner Bauer. It's been moved and supported. Commissioner Bauer. Yeah, Commissioner Bauer.
I think I like the title, like Chief Administrative Officer, is clearer to me on what I think is needed in the city. Somebody who has the skills, knowledge, the things outlined here, but is I hate to say this, operates like a city manager, but is responsible for the administration of the city. I think what has happened in the past, perhaps, when it's called executive assistant, the mayors had real latitude on assigning duties to that position. And I'm sure it's because that's what he in this case always had needed. But it's my feeling that we need administrative in our city. We need more attention to administrative duties, so the mayor has time to be visionary and doing other things too.
So you're saying a chief administrative officer?
Well, I'm open to another, but I think when we say deputy mayor.
In terms of the sections that we have here, 4-201.1 through .3, what other duties or responsibilities are not here that you think should be here to meet this chief administrative officer? Is it the same?
That's what I'm confused. If it's the same duties,
Yeah.
what are we doing, separating two people out to do the same duties? Go ahead.
I think she's
Commissioner
just
Jasmine.
recommending that we change the name of the title.
Yes.
That's it.
From deputy mayor?
Yes, from deputy mayor to chief administrative officer, chief of staff, or something like that, that's more specific as to what the role actually is.
Okay, and if we do that, and I'm not against that at all, what is the deputy mayor doing then?
There is no deputy mayor.
We do have a
I
deputy
mean,
mayor.
but not according to the
We should be
charter.
governing this deputy
So do we
mayor.
want to outline that we should have a chief administrative officer and no deputy mayor? I feel like we can say that.
one.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
for that. But if we have,
right.
yeah, well,
Let's get it down.
Yeah.
So where are we? I mean, if the concern I have with the chief administrative officer, if you look at I don't think there's a definition section in the Home Rule City Act that deals with this. But if you look at the Emergency Manager Act, which follows or which precedes the Home Rule City Act, they do have a definition of the chief administrative officer, and it's a city manager. I don't want to conflict the two and confuse the two. I think we have to remain separate from that. So I would really caution against that.
Just to add on that, the Home Rule Cities Act does state that the charter has to provide for the election of a mayor who shall be the chief executive officer of the city. So that is the language that it refers to the mayor as.
So
What about chief of staff?
I think the concern is, I think from what I'm hearing, is that there's a bunch of different positions in the mayor's office. No one knows how they got there. And there's a lot of money being spent, and people are trying to figure it out. And so I don't think we're going to, win that argument by kind of picking what the name of this person is, because they can change it the next day. I don't know if we can address that issue in this particular part of the charter.
So do we just say a member of the mayor's cabinet or administration or something? I mean,
that could be the secretary though.
I mean,
I think we
yeah,
should-
I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, if we don't want to pick, like,
Yeah.
specify, or we're not really clear on who does what in the mayor's office and who's there and what positions exist, does it make sense to actually name one?
But we have
We have a deputy mayor though. So I think this deputy mayor has gone unchecked.
Well,
So-
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, the deputy mayor has literally gone unchecked. So I think the deputy mayor at that high level position should be included in the charter.
Commissioner Anderson.
What if the next mayor doesn't have a deputy mayor? I guess is
Well-
what we're getting at, right? Is that these are just made up positions by the mayor, whoever is in that seat. And so we're just naming something that could literally just not be relevant.
Well, if I could respond to that, in point 1 of 4-201, it says shall have an executive assistant, shall have a deputy mayor. I think this is the only position that's called out for the mayor's office in the charter that's required. So if we call this the deputy mayor's position, he's got to have a deputy mayor. It's shall, it's mandatory, it's required. And if we want to get into looking at other positions or staffing for his office, or her office, whoever's the mayor's office, I mean, we can do that. I don't know if we really want to get into those weeds, but just for this position only, it's mandatory, and it would have to be called, right now, the motion is deputy mayor. It's been moved and supported. Good. Well, I was going to recognize Commissioner Lopez.
Before you call the question, I had my hand up. Well, I guess the question I have is will this be valid 10 years from now? Whatever position we talk about?
It's mandatory.
I mean, we're doing this for the future, not for the present.
But it is mandatory, though.
I'm sorry?
Everything we're doing is for the future. We're supposed to be doing for the
Yeah,
future.
this is a future thing. It's not a today thing.
Well,
But
again,
and all I'm saying is that we're talking about all of this, but we got to remember that we're talking about things that are or that were. We got to talk about things that will be. And so I'm just asking the question, will this be applicable 10 years from now? Because it may be a computer running the city, for all I know. You know, so.
We're not dealing with the Jetsons right now.
Commissioner Anderson.
And I just want to say one more thing, and this is not in favor or against it, but I looked on the City of Lansing's website, and the mayor has a chief administrative officer. There is no mention of a deputy mayor currently today.
That's what his title says on the
Yes.
website.
Commissioner
Yep.
Cui.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Cui.
It was just more of a comment. This executive assistant back in 1978, that title, again, where it spells out what their duties is. But if you look at anywhere else of an executive assistant, that's more like an AA.
Yeah.
And that is definitely not what they are
Right.
for what they do. Correct, that's what it is. So that title definitely needs to be changed in Chapter 2 for 201.
I think once we
Rather-
change it here, it changes everywhere, anytime. it's
There we
changed.
go.
Yeah.
And just for clarity, I would like to ask, because you're seeing that on the website, the person he just hired as the deputy mayor, the title is chief administrative officer?
Yes, Christopher Mumby is listed as the chief administrative officer, and the only other position I see outside of city departments is the chief strategy officer, which is Jake Bauer, who came and spoke about the budget. Mumby is listed as the chief administrative officer.
Up here. So, where are we? Got a motion,
I
it's
think we
been
take
supported.
Motion's on the floor.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
So, with Commissioner Boyd voting no, you're good. Who voted no?
Commissioner Anderson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Anderson voting no. So, we've now have the deputy mayors. Do we have to go through, Kristen, each one of these sections then and make specific amendments where it references executive assistant to deputy mayor? Or is,
I don't think so, just changing
Okay.
the words, I think we can go through and identify. And just to, so I'm clear for changes, it was the motion deputy mayor or deputy to the mayor?
it should be deputy.
Deputy to the mayor.
Okay,
Right. Deputy
Okay.
to the mayor.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, can we get the Article 4 back up? Thank you. Wow. So,
One of those.
back to point 2, 4-102.2. There was a proposal, and I think there was some discussion about whether the mayor should be there, should not be there, may be there. So there was no motion, if I recall correctly.
No.
Okay. So any motion, make any changes to that section? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Point 3,
I'd like a point of clarification because I think the vice chair was against that proposal. Did you vote against it?
no, she,
I said
She was,
They should be there, and I had recommended that they not be there. They'd be changed from shall to may.
Right.
So what are you voting on? Are you leaving it the way it is?
we're leaving it that the concern that the vice president or vice chair had was the use of the word executive assistant. We have now changed that.
Right.
She was in support of shall. She wanted to remain it mandatory. And,
That they attend the meetings? Okay.
and that was,
That's what I'm saying, did you put a motion on the floor to make it remain?
I can't remember. I had
No, there-
sent you this, and I don't know if I don't think that I put it in the form of a motion. I just sent you an email.
correct.
And Lori said, Commissioner Simon said that she disagreed with it.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So Commissioner Bauer.
I don't have strong feelings about it one way or the
Okay.
other.
Commissioner Bauer? No? Anybody? Okay. Is everybody set on point 2?
We left it as shall.
Yes, it's as is. Point 3, we've removed the typo from there, and did we have any other, looking at the past correspondence, see if anything else came up. Okay, so we did have a recommendation from Mayor Hollister regarding a strategic plan that would be a requirement from the mayors. This may fit between point 3 and point 4
Put that here.
if we use that requirement. Everybody has a copy of that language. Can we, I don't think we have it up on the,
I'm
Okay.
sharing, I wrote,
well, I meant up on the monitor. What's the body feel about that? Is that something that, Commissioner Bauer?
Thank you. And it is in our packet, on page 57 of our packet. I absolutely support this, and I think it would be a very good addition to the charter. I support it as it's written, so if it's appropriate at this time, I will move that we add the language that is before us between 3 and 4 in the charter.
Second.
Okay, so this would be then 4-102.4, and then we'd renumber the remaining subsections. Kristen, does this fit here? Is this okay to put in there?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any discussions or questions regarding the language? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. So we'll go to now point 5. This would be a new, yes. Yeah, Councilman.
Just for ease sake, can we just keep the numbers as are and just know we're inserting a new 4 and moving it? So as we go through, we're not trying to renumber.
Okay, so we're on 4.
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
just think that's gonna be easier for us all to stay.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome, Emery.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm just looking at some of these. Does anybody have any changes or concerns about this section?
What section are we on?
4.4.
I think Commissioner
Point
Boyd
4,
did.
the,
Under what chapter? Excuse me.
We're 4-102.4. This was the changing, I believe you had a concern about
The time.
the state of the city.
Oh, yes.
When it should be presented. Go ahead,
May I,
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair? I think that it should not be necessarily, right now, I think the charter reads it has to be done by the end of January. And we have cities all across the state of Michigan that don't abide by that. The mayor or the manager gives their report whenever it's appropriate. Sometimes it's in February, sometimes it's in March, sometimes it's in September. So I just don't think we should be tied to January. That's my point. Thank you.
Anybody?
I think the mayor should have to give a report, but I'm not saying it has to be done at the end of January.
Okay. It was recommended by our attorney that the charter can provide a different date or leave it simply to at least once a year. I would be concerned, having served on council, one of the things that I would think that the council would want to hear is the State of the City address before the budget presentation. And the budget presentation is required by the fourth Monday of March of each year. So I think if we move it from January of each year to say no later than the last Wednesday of February of each year, that would give an additional month, but also then put it out a month before the budget presentation is to be made to council. It's just a thought. So, Commissioner Boyd.
I would just ask a question because I don't know the answer. Are we married to the budget having to be presented by the fourth Monday of March? Could the state of the city be changed to say by the 1st of March or by the 1st of April and have the budget presented at a different time? I just don't know. Thank you.
I think the timelines for the budget in terms of presenting it, council considering it, and getting it passed are very, very tight. And so I don't think you'd want to push them any further out than they already are. Commissioner Bauer.
Well, and I'm not making a value statement on this at all, but originally, the state of the city, it was a report required that the mayor present to the city council about the state of the city before the budget. And it's, what has happened over the years is it's become a huge public event. Again, I don't have a value, I'm not making a value statement on it, but I think the last, am I correct that the city council wasn't even at the last one? So I think here, we are specifically talking about the mayor updating the city council on the state of the city. And the mayor could do the big public thing anytime he or she wanted.
That's how I interpret it as well. He's making, because he's going to be at the meetings now, he's going to make a presentation to the city council.
Right, I recall now how that was done in the past, and I think in terms of trying to recall his comments when he was here, I mean, this was an issue for him in terms of being able to get, you know, in order to have the time it takes to put together a report. Yeah. So, Councilmember Boyd.
I think, yes, I think the mayor wanted more time. I think if this commission feels that the third week of February is enough time, or it's more time, it's at least something more than January 31st. I would say, for the sake of argument, it be March 1st, just because, you know what, you know, we don't know how the
So is that
calendar
a
falls.
motion?
Pardon?
You making a motion?
No, I'll go along with whatever the commission says, but I've sent my email, so you have mine.
There was no motion there. So did you want it March 1st or by the first meeting of March?
I'd say March 1st. Let's make it easy.
It could be, I mean, is there a problem with the weekend or anything like that? Okay. So we will, the amendment will be to amend point 4, the new point 5, to strike the last regular city council meeting in January of each year to March 1st of each year. Is that? No later? Okay. No later than March 1st. Is that? Okay. Commissioner Anderson.
I'm sorry if I missed this while I stepped out. 365 days is 365 days. It's still a year to a year. So what's the issue with it being what it is currently, specifically?
I think it's just accommodating some of his issues. I think if you look back, and I think it really mirrors what Commissioner Bauer was saying, when they just presented a report to council, they would come down here, stand here, I mean, there might be a camera or something, and give the report. But when they started to take it out to the public, it became a much bigger production, and I think at that point, It took a lot more of effort and time to put it together. So I think he's just asking for an accommodation. I don't know if, Commissioner Boyd.
I think this mirrors the request we had that we already approved that gave the mayor more veto time to consider vetoes in the budget. He used to have 3 days. We've now expanded that to 9. I think this is simply a courtesy. He's saying January 31st is pretty tight, and he'd like more time. And so I think we've compromised. I think he'd probably like more time than March 1st, but we're saying we'll give you another month. So that's how I view this.
Well, and I think too, historically, after when they started doing that, even though they're hitting by the end of January mark, as soon as they started doing that, it started expanding out, and it would go into February, sometimes into March. So, go ahead, Commissioner Bauer.
And I guess the question would be, if we go to March 1, does that give City Council what they need to do their work? And it sounds like it still would. Yeah.
Commissioner Andrews.
I have some more clarifying questions. I'm sorry. So currently the mayor is only doing the state of the city big public affair. He's no longer coming to city council and doing this presentation.
No, he's doing both, right?
Is he?
The mayor submits a printed report annually.
Okay.
Currently by the end of January, and does a separate address. So there's a report and an address right now.
Go ahead.
And I think I asked that because I've attended several State of the Cities, whether virtual or in person, and I don't think I've ever gotten a true analysis of the department's adequacies. And so that's what I was wondering, maybe this report is somewhere else other than just the public one that we're seeing, because I've never heard that. It's always the highlight reels of what's happening, which is not a true representation of what's actually occurring, right? And so, to me, I think that people are looking for transparency, and that's not happening currently with the state of the city. And so I would add, if we're going to push it back, I think that there should be more details to what's being provided, honestly.
More than what's listed?
Well, I feel like even what's listed is not being provided, but I haven't seen the report that's given to council. I'm just going based off of the actual state of the city event, so.
Commissioner Dowd.
Yeah, and I think just looking at what the charter is saying here, all this is requiring is that the mayor provide this report to the council. So the whole state of the city hoopla is nothing to do with the charter at all. This is requiring a report to be done. So if we're expanding that timeline, he could do his mayoral ceremony thing whenever throughout the year that he wants. I think bumping it a little bit to accommodate for departments to get the reports in and such. I do think, Commissioner Anderson, that you're right, that there should be some more transparency in that report being publicized, because that's certain. What he's doing in public right now is not honoring what the charter is looking for. The charter is being upheld by providing a report to just council.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a copy of, say, the last 2 years' reports? Let's take a look at them, and then we can revisit this. Okay.
If I could just, and Commissioner Dowden, just reading this, it says a report to the city council and to the public. So it's there. It just may not be happening.
Okay, we'll come back to this after we get these.
The link to last 5.
I think
Was it was not, there was nope.
To change it to March 1st.
I don't know if that was moved and supported.
I thought that was the motion.
It was moved and supported?
Yes.
I didn't think it.
No later than March 1st.
We talked about, I didn't know if that was moved and supported. Do you know?
I did not catch him. Okay, you're right, there was no motion.
There was no motion.
discussed. She held back on the
Yeah,
motion. So
yeah.
very good.
Okay.
You're right. You're exactly
All right.
right.
All right, let's go to point 5. Anybody have any concerns with that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 6, does anybody have any problems with the language there? About responding to the internal auditor's reports? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, that language is passed. Point 7, does anybody have any concerns with this section? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 8, regarding the annual report of an itemization of all interests in real property owned by the city. I think Commissioner Boyd, you had a concern.
I just thought it seemed redundant.
With what? What is it redundant with?
Well, it says here, in the current charter, it says the mayor shall make an annual report to the city council which shall itemize all the interests in real property owned by the city. I mean, if we want that incorporated into his state of the city or the budget, I mean, I just don't understand why we have a separate, I don't understand why we have a separate section on that.
Well,
Madam Vice Chair.
Yeah, currently, we don't know what the report that he's giving to the city council states. So it would be redundant if he's already stating that, but he doesn't state what real property we have at the state of the cities. So there's no reason, it doesn't affect anyone to leave that in there, especially since we don't know the language of his previous reports.
I think the expectation is it's a separate report.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Do we want to add like a deadline or expectation of when this should be submitted every year so it's consistent, or? I make a motion to add January 31st to this.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The only reason, the only thought I had is trying to think anywhere else in the charter regarding, I think there's other places in the charter that we talk about our property, and I just want to make sure that it syncs up in terms of timing. I don't have a problem with putting a date in it, but yeah, okay, let's do that. Shall make an annual report no later than?
I'm going to make an amendment to be in alignment with point 4, so the last regular city council meeting in January of each year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't understand why that wouldn't be included in the report to the city council.
Right.
It is redundant if you're making two separate reports.
I mean, there may be a reason
Yeah,
in terms of the time, but, okay, so it'll read, shall make an annual report no later than the last regular city council meeting in January of each year. It's been moved, is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Commissioner Dow?
Can I suggest we can vote on that right now, but hold on to that too? Let's check internally and make sure that makes sense.
Yeah.
There may be other things that we're waiting for as far as property reports to come through that don't allow for that to happen.
Commissioner Bowe?
I was also just going to say, I would be voting no for this because I'm uncomfortable until I know when they usually give it. And I would ask the clerk, is this something that usually gets, maybe I shouldn't ask.
I am not familiar with this report.
Okay, yeah.
I don't recall having seen
You might be. But it does seem that it would be important to have a very open, transparent list of all the real property from the city. So I think I would recommend we wait on this to get a little more information on what is it? Is this report being done? Is it important? Is it done in other reports?
I agree with Commissioner Bauer, and I think adding a date when there is no date, we really do need more information before we add a date. I agree.
So is the maker of the motion and the person that supported the motion willing to, I don't want to table it because it gets a little difficult but we can bring it back.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, just procedurally, it's a lot easier to do it that way. All right, so we will come back and to look at that after we get some additional information. Point 9, is there any concerns with that language?
I have concerns.
Madam Vice Chair.
It says the mayor shall be responsible for reducing any unlawful discrimination and increasing mutual understanding among the residents of the community. How does he do that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Commissioner Bauer.
And my first thought also, and I was hoping, because Commissioner Simon probably has more knowledge than any of us on this, but is that even the language one would use in 2025 versus?
No.
So I think this probably needs some work and.
Rewrite it.
And what's the intent of, well, no, it is an important intent,
It's very important intent, but
very important.
I don't know the checks and balances for him doing that. How's it enforced?
Okay, so, yes, Commissioner Anderson.
When we were having our community input sessions, there was someone that came, I think it was the last one, and she was mentioning that she would like to see like a department or something that can handle like civil disputes or neighbor disputes. And I feel like that's somewhat in line with what this is stating. And I don't necessarily think that I would want the mayor to be the one responsible for resolving it and investigating it. But I think it's something that we should look into a little bit more as to like what the options are within the city government to be able to do something like that.
Yes.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Maybe we can get out a communication to the mayor and ask him to respond as well. Okay, point 1.0.
Mr. President?
Same. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, 8, 9 and 10. This needs to be rewritten because of the language.
Yeah.
There's no affirmative action anymore, for example. So, and I think there's already language somewhere else that's more current.
Kristen?
So there were changes to the anti-discrimination provision, but this is about an annual report on, I guess, steps the city was taking to diversify in a variety of programs. It's not even clear, probably employment, but potentially in other aspects. So to the extent you want an annual report on diversity initiatives or something, I mean, as being a separate stated item, open to language of what makes sense for really the city's. It's kind of a policy and philosophical language here, but.
And I agree with that, but I would like to see personally, to see the department heads, the demographics of our employees, our department heads, and be very transparent about that. Or even his cabinet. We can go on the website and look at his cabinet. But it is very important to make it as diverse as possible without using that terminology, affirmative action. So if you could develop some language to address that, or I can propose some as well. But I think that's very important to everyone to see what does the heads of the department look like? What are the managers look like? What is the promotion rate for different demographics? What's the hiring and turnover of different demographics?
All right, we'll come back with some language on that. Number 11, point 11. Any concerns with language there? Hearing none. Commissioner Dowd.
So here's one where I almost think we need to put a time frame in. So it just says that he will, the mayor will respond in a prompt and efficient manner. And I think we've heard from constituents that they get no responses often, whether that's the mayor himself, the mayor's office, whatever that is. So this one I would like to think about what the expectation of response is from the mayor or his staff.
So are you suggesting a specific time frame or I mean, this,
End of January. That's what I'm saying.
but, and then how does
365
this
days a
work
year.
with FOIA and all of that? Kristen?
FOIA has its own process, so I mean, FOIA would just apply to that procedure. I mean, this section is really broad. I mean, it's just, requests for information, which may be FOIA, it may not be. There are other provisions that, information, and then complaints on the operation of city government. I mean, even that can be really broad. So, I understand the desire to, I guess, put a little bit of teeth or clarification on what prompt and efficient means, but I'm worried about how enforceable this would be, even if you put a time frame.
Can I just say that as a citizen, I have been victimized, shall we say that word, when I've sent emails to departments asking for information, and I've heard crickets. In fact, I keep thinking I'm going to respond and say, hey, I'm still here. And it's been 4 months since I've heard. I also don't expect the mayor to be dealing with it. The mayor's got more important things to deal with. And just for the record, I live on a street that has it's never plowed, so whatever. But I don't expect the mayor to deal with that. The mayor's got other things more important to deal with. Maybe this is something where we say the mayor or his designee, or, maybe this is something that the deputy mayor will deal with, but there should be somebody should be held accountable to respond to the public, but I don't think it needs to be the mayor.
Okay. It's all about the head of the city. But anyway, could this be addressed through resolution, council? If we reword it in a different way, but could it be addressed by council passing resolution either yearly for this type of, for example, responding to residents who have concerning operations of the city?
It could, go ahead.
I think it spells it out already in number 12. That says the mayor may delegate any of the duties described above, which we're talking about now, to another officer of the city by filing notice of specific delegation with the clerk. So it doesn't need to be the mayor. He could say, city department heads can respond to these things. So I think that already kind of does that already without an ordinance.
Well, I'm talking about the, in a timely manner. That's what I was referring to, not who should respond. And I just, the question, could it be addressed by council passing resolution that the mayor should respond within 30 days, for example, of any request for information? Or if it's FOIA, like, it could be a FOIA-able thing or other, but I think I'm more worried about concerning complaints concerning the operation of city government. In terms of my trash hasn't been collected in three months or whatever, My street has been plowed in 50 years. I mean,
Here.
Those kinds of things. I don't know if it's proper or not, but I know there's a process, and the process doesn't work at times. So all I'm asking is, would council be able to pass a resolution
Legally,
to address that?
I don't think they could do it by resolution. I think you'd have a separation of powers issue. Potentially, it could be addressed in an ordinance on a specific topic if something came up. But again, this is a really broad, so it's, even putting in an ordinance, I think, would be difficult at this level of breadth. If there's a specific, handling of snow plows or something, like there's an ordinance about that. Potentially, but I don't think by a resolution.
Other questions? So, Kristen, it'd be your recommendation not to put a specific time frame in there?
I think there needs to be a specific designee, because it really isn't the responsibility of the mayor. That just doesn't
Right.
seem like something that fall under his purview.
That comes in 12.
That comes to 12, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, ahead of myself. But it addresses them.
given how broad this is, I think it'd be difficult to put in a time frame and it be enforceable or reasonable in all instances. I guess that's my concern, to the extent that there are issues that you want to address, maybe more specifically, I think you have to decide whether the charter can address that or whether that's better left through other mechanisms. But I mean, you certainly can put in a time frame. I just, I don't know how well it will be enforced.
What's the pleasure of the body? Any motion? Okay, hearing none on that language, all those in favor say aye.
Yeah, we're like-
So is this going to go away? Is that what we're saying? Does anybody have a motion on?
She's gonna
on
get
any
us
of this?
some more language, though, I thought.
I thought we were gonna come back with.
Yeah, that has to be reworded.
Right.
Okay, I didn't think that
It
was,
completely has to be reworded.
all right. We'll come back with some additional language. Number 11.
Yeah.
I thought we were only going to do that 8 through 10, but okay, we'll put 11 in there. Okay. All right. Anything on 12? This is the, oh, we did.
There's a missing period.
Yeah, we've already made that change.
Okay, sorry.
That's good. So this is the delegation language that everybody was looking at. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed,
Does that
passes.
include the renumbering?
Yeah, we already renumbered everything when we made the initial. Okay, we're to chapter 2, executive staff. We've done the deputy thing. Is there anything else in there that, say, in 4-201.1, does anyone have any other concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In point 2, are there any changes, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Point 3, any changes, deletions, concerns, anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 4, any change? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Okay, we're to chapter 3 under departments.
Mr. President,
Yes.
did we have conversation on 4? Did we have some discussion before about that the mayor, whoever he or she is, it says here, the executive deputy mayor shall be appointed by the mayor and shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor. Didn't we talk about something that the council might be able to chime in terms of letting go of that position? You don't recall that conversation?
No. Do you have some, are you interested in doing
It was
something?
that or the city attorney, something like that.
This is the position, the mayor's position. It would be akin to the mayor waiting in on the council's position, say if they had a legislative analyst or,
Sure, it's the pleasure of the mayor, yeah.
yeah. So I think I didn't have any concerns with it. Anybody?
Just want to be reminded.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, Article 4-301, Organization of Departments. I still think that's good language. Kristen, let me just get to the, okay, on point 2, these are the agencies that have been delineated, and they have special or specific provisions within the charter that talks about their duties and responsibilities. So first of all, with 1, is there any changes, additions to the language in point 1? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. In point 2, Are there any changes or deletions there? Any concerns? Commissioner Anderson?
I think there's, and I don't know if I'm being like too in the weeds, but there's some departments that are currently departments, but the names have changed a little bit. So I don't know if we want to change that to be in alignment with what they are today, or, yeah, so I think like D, it says Law Department, but I'm pretty sure that's the Office of the City Attorney. And the Planning Department is now the Economic Development and Planning Department. And then there are other departments who aren't listed.
I'm going to pass around. This was the table of organization for the city that we got, I think, at Commissioner Lopez's request. And I would ask the city attorney to take a look at that, and then let's update the charter to reflect what our current table of organization is. I think there might be some more down there that you might need. Go ahead, Commissioner Anderson.
And then I feel like there's been a lot of conversation from constituents about adding a sustainability and environmental something, department. And so I'm just raising that also.
First of all, with regards to the table of organizations that you have, do you know, Chris, is this the most up-to-date one? I think we received this.
I do not know. It appears to be up to date to me.
Okay. I mean, so is there any objection to going through the charter currently with this table of organizations and updating that based on the charter, based on the organization? Yes.
I'd
Commissioner
just like
Boyd.
to raise the issue that a couple of our citizens raised tonight, and that was that we needed a Department of Sustainability. Is this the appropriate time to discuss that or not?
I just want to do it piece by piece. If we can get through this, okay? And if you want to start adding departments, then we can have that discussion. But as to the table of organization that is in front of you, can we direct the city attorney to go through the charter and update the charter based on?
Yes, I support that.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need a vote on that. Kristen, do you have any questions?
Are you just talking about point 2 or point 3 as well?
I'd move to get rid of point 3, but I'm talking about the charter, you know, when it goes and it starts talking about different, like, planning department, it's now economic development and planning, you know, just updating the charter throughout the charter.
All right,
to reflect
understood.
those
Yep.
changes.
So, Mr. President,
Commissioner Lopez.
this chart doesn't have BWL in it.
Board of Water and Light.
You know, I had that question. Where does the Board of Water and Light fall on this charter, or on this organization table?
That's the problem.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Does it go here?
But they have to be separate.
Between the mayor and city council, doesn't it? Because we appoint.
The way I was looking at it as well is the Board of Water and Light falls within the boards and commissions as opposed to the departments. And so I'm not sure, I mean, you could go, I suppose, under fire that's listed in the table of organization and put, you know, the fire board of commissioners. It would fit under there. That's not what I think we were trying to accomplish with this thing here. But does that fall within the city's organizational table, or is it outside of that?
Well, it would still fall under, I mean, it would still fall somewhere within the organization, but this does not have any of the boards I see in here at all.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
I mean, where that would fall, I'd have, you're asking me Article 5 questions.
I know. Sorry.
I mean, it would either be a separate item under, gosh, because it's kind of a hybrid. It's kind of its own thing that it could potentially be, yeah. I don't have an answer. I don't know
All right.
that it necessarily fits on this provision.
Why don't we discuss that when we get to Article 5 then? Okay.
It is,
Commissioner Boyd.
Mr. Chair, it is in Article 5, and it is under boards and commissions, so I think you were right. So,
Yeah. Commissioner Anderson.
But I do want to highlight that the Board of Water and Light is not just a board, though. Like, they're not just a board and commission. They're an entire,
They're an executive.
yeah. So I don't think it should only be referenced in Article 5. Even if it's not under 4-301.2, it should be identified somewhere within this, I think. And it currently is today.
Well, it is identified in 301.2, correct? Okay, great. Okay. Commissioner Lopez?
Well, I don't know where that was at the time this was written, but it says, the following agencies of the city shall have the power and duties described in the charter. And the first one they mentioned is Board of Water and Light. So it had to be somewhere, and I would imagine it's between city council and mayor, because mayor recommends, council approves the board members, right? To that board?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so you're saying it's something like the city attorney's office?
Maybe different box, but, or are there commissions here? No? there's no
I think
commission.
if we can, let's take a look at that, figure it out.
What are you, I mean, the
Trying to figure
charter
out-
doesn't have an organization on here, so, like, I mean, are you asking what are you
Where
asking?
would it
me to do?
fit under any of these boxes?
In here?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
No. I don't think so.
Well, what? Yeah, where's,
It's
where do you think
quasi-
it would fit then?
It's a quasi governmental entity.
That's what I'm saying, how do you word that, because it's a governmental entity? But I see what you're saying, because it's referred to as the Board of Water and Light. But I think that's just the title of it, but it's something that we own.
Yeah.
So,
But it doesn't have the, let me see.
or a separate entity. I mean, you can pull it out of just the boards and commission and create its own section, because it probably needs that. Yeah, let's separate it out.
I think the answer is something like the city attorney's office on here, because 5-201 states that the board shall be responsible to the mayor and city council for the provision of these services in a manner consistent with best practices. So I think it would.
Yeah, let's pull the board out.
Okay. So moving on to, are we set with point 2? No? What's the motion?
I thought we were coming back to that.
Going to come back to it, okay. Point 3?
Wait, sorry. Are we talking about the sustainability department today, or are we coming back to that another time too?
If we're going to start talking about adding departments and creating departments, yeah, that's going to require a much greater conversation in terms of getting costs and figure out what that really means, so.
So some of this.
So we'll plug it in somewhere.
Some of this don't exist. On 3?
Point 3?
Point 3, yeah. I don't know the,
We're still talking about
what is it?
So are we all set with the other boards? I mean, if there's an interest on the part of anyone here who wants to add a new department to the city, please send me an email, what that would include, what you're looking at, and then we'll try to get something put together.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Boyd.
I would say to members of the public who are here, who advocated for a Department of Sustainability, that you too should take responsibility and send the commission an email about how you envision that department being and what it would include, because you are the ones who recommended it. I'm only asking that we should review it.
Or under boards.
Yeah. Dyke is sent, yeah.
Okay. So, are we all set to move on? Point 3, other agencies. Anybody? I think there's been some concern about eliminating this altogether.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bauer?
think we're going to have to decide if we, in the first list, there are still in the current 4 departments not on the first, point 2. And then with point 3, we add all these others that obviously many are not relevant anymore. So I guess just organizationally and content-wise,
We can move to strike those?
how many, what do we feel should be included? I would ask, do other city charters include every department or I mean, obviously, the ones that have been here since 1978, I think we would all agree, the first section are still extremely relevant. Fire, police, important for the city. So we might want to just add to that list. I don't know why we divided it into 2.
I think it's because within the charter, under point 2, the charter specifically provides the duties and responsibilities for those that are found there. The other, in point 3, the other agencies do not have that within the charter. This is just identifying what existed at that time.
Okay.
Commissioner Anderson.
I would recommend striking the list and just leaving the language of point 3. The list, like these include air pollution, blah, 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 like striking that completely. I don't think we need to list it out. If there's other agencies that were already established by ordinance, then they're going to continue to exist currently. I think like that's what point 3 is saying. I don't think we need to list them out.
Okay.
And
Madam Vice Chair.
I would agree with that, especially we're building this for the future. So things are going to change. Departments are going to change, agencies are going to change. So in the language of those agencies are going to change.
Commissioner Cui.
My question is, those things that are listed in point 3, shouldn't they fall under some of these organizations that we already have listed in point 2? So that I know that housing and redevelopment should fall under, maybe the planning department. I don't want them to do was to just get rid of them.
They don't want to exist.
I think
go ahead.
The recommendation is not to get rid of them, it's to remove them off of listing them in the charter. And the language says anything that's existing stays, and then if we have another ordinance that adds other departments, then those get added too. But we just don't list them out so they don't become obsolete in the charter in 5 years.
Okay.
So we're just taking off the list. Is there a motion? Does someone have a motion?
So moved.
The motion. To move.
To remove
these-
the list of agencies in 4-301.3
And update the language.
Okay.
and to update the language in, because we didn't make a motion about the departments, did we?
Well, wait. So in 3, is the motion, we're going to keep the first sentence and then strike, these include,
Yes,
all the way down to 20?
yes.
Is that it? Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. And then, what was the other?
Do we need to make a motion about updating the departments to reflect the table of organization?
Updating the departments to reflect the current
We,
organizational chart.
yeah.
We don't have to do anything with that.
I don't think we have to.
Okay.
I think she's, it, pardon me? Do we need a motion? Is that what
No,
you're
I think
saying?
you need to see the language. You need to see the new language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it's to incorporate this into it. Okay. We'll see it next week. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, on the chart, you have most of the 2.2 agencies, but you also have additional ones like Office of Media, which was not a charter original charter, it was a resolution. So those on 2 were charter organizations. The 3 were all later added by resolution of council. So those can come and go, I suppose. But, so on the chart, we have on top, community media, that was not originally on the charter. And under the various departments, public service, you have some of the additional, I don't know if they're offices or duties. Public service, for example, has obviously the road and sidewalk, sewer treatment, trash, grounds engineering, government fleet services, that was not here. So it's changed. So when we insert the chart, I mean, this, if you're asking to insert this as to replace what is here?
No.
Okay.
What we're asking our attorney to do is to go through the charter as here, and then as these names have changed, if it falls in here, to actually reflect what that department is. So instead of Office of, the Planning Department, it's now Economic Development and Planning. So we're going to just update those sections.
Yeah, property
And if
management,
it's,
for example.
so I don't think in the charter you're going to find the Office of Community Media. It's not going to be in the charter.
Well, she's gonna need help because she doesn't know what they are.
We'll see how she does.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Point 4. I'm just trying to, 201. Are there any objections to that language? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. About point 5. Any changes, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ben, I'm sorry, Commissioner Dow.
I have a question. So this calls out the 3 departments, and they may create others, but aren't those the other departments already listed in section 2?
They're among the boards or departments that are specified and called out in the charter, although I'll note it's not all of them.
Right.
So, yeah, I suppose, I mean, you could certainly leave it as is, and that would be fine. I suppose the other issue too is if these other departments are important enough to call out in the charter, do you want to limit the ability to establish, abolish, or reorganize the ones that are called out in the charter? All of them.
I just felt it was didn't match what was already in the charter.
Other questions?
We're talking about point 5, correct?
Correct.
I think it's because, like, at a bare minimum, we're agreeing that police, fire, BWL must remain as it is. And then the other ones, like, even though we've identified them as important departments that we should have, if something were to change in the way that we operate as a society, like, they could be restructured.
Those are not going to change.
Okay. So, on point 5, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Point 6. Any change or any concerns? Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I think that number 6 mentions the fire, police, Board of Water and Light, and it says, no agency of the executive branch shall have any administrative authority over the Board of Water and Light. And we have had a lot of comment on that. And we may want to make some changes there. If we can, review it. I wonder if that means that we cannot audit, or the city cannot audit the Board of Water and Light.
Commissioner Anderson.
But the legislative branch can still have administrative authority of the board. So, and that's who would be auditing them. And so I think it's just saying like the mayor and his office don't have that authority.
It's
What's
not
that?
saying that, though.
What are you
I
reading?
see what you're saying.
Oh, right, okay.
What are you reading?
It says no agency of the executive branch shall have any administrative authority over the Board of Water and Light. But
Okay.
of the executive branch, right? Which I'm okay with. Yeah.
But it doesn't say that the legislative branch has a
Well, that's, yeah,
Then
yeah.
That would belong in chapter 3.
Yes.
It's not spelled out.
That, going back to chapter 3.
Yeah. He said, going back to chapter 3.
So you're talking about the external audit on the Board of Water and Light? Well, it says what it says. All right, we'll bring that back next week, or in 2 weeks, along with everything else. Okay. Let me just note that. Okay. Point 7. I'm not sure that this should even remain. Let me look at-
The date should
Yeah, I don't think it's doing anything for us. Wait.
He's doing it with his branch.
So would there be a motion to eliminate?
And I'll support it.
Is it supported? Yep.
I see that our clerk has questions in his, if I might, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I see number 7 as being very specific to when the charter was passed in 78 and its organization. That's why I think it should be eliminated. That's why I supported Commissioner Dowd's motion, but I see the clerk has some question.
Clerk, well, jump
Thank you.
in. Thank you.
As indicated on the chart, there are departments that are not going to be in the charter, so I guess that begs the question, how would a department be created, or how would 2 departments be merged or department eliminated if not for this? So I think that has to be addressed somehow, otherwise there will be, future needs might not be met.
Well, how does point 5 address that question, or answer that question?
Well, I think, city, by ordinance, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, by ordinance.
All right.
But a good question, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? So there's a motion to eliminate point 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Passes with Commissioner Kawhi voting no. I think that's his first no vote. It is. Ooh. Okay. All right.
So that's all.
4-302, Finance Department. Point 1. Is there any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point.
Question.
All right. Commissioner Kawhi.
Sorry. I think there was, and again, going back a couple of meetings, where people wanted more transparency on the finances of the city. And I think this would be a perfect example to have that spelled out, where that either in an annual report or what have you, where they could get that finance department? Because that has been brought up numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should have it spelled out somewhere in that
Okay.
language.
So you don't believe that that would be addressed in detail in the annual, or the city report, the annual report?
It probably hasn't been.
It has
Not that it has, but I mean, reading what's supposed to be in it, I didn't know if that would cover that. You don't think it does?
What's supposed to be and what actually happens, two different.
Well, no, I get that. I
Right.
mean, but so if we added language here that says it needs to do it, we've got it in two places where it says it needs to be done, and it's still not going to get done.
Sorry,
Go
I don't think that that's necessarily addressed in the state of the city. An analysis of the department's adequacy isn't necessarily transparency for how we're spending money. I think those are two separate things.
Well, is there something you would want to add to that report then? To the annual report?
There's
That would
lots of
clarify
things.
that? Well, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, we could take care of it there, or we could take care of it here. I think it would probably fit better in the annual report with everything else.
Yeah, I think I personally would want to sit on what exactly I think should be in there and circle back next meeting.
Why don't you provide some language? Send it over and we'll send it over and see. We can come back to that and look at it at our next meeting then. Okay, great. Make a note. Okay, so still at point one, is there any other discussion on that section? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Point two is,
Income tax and treasury are separate.
I mean, does this, point two is not really consistent with the table of organization then, is it?
Yeah,
About the finance department?
assessing is different.
Accounting, budget, financial reporting, and strategic planning. So that's what it should say in the charter.
Right, so. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Commissioner Anderson.
Per the table of organization, assessing is separate. And treasury is separate, but really, per the charter, they all report to the finance department.
So would the motion be then to amend this provision to reflect the table of organization?
I don't know, because I don't know if I agree with the table of organization. Like, I don't know if I have a stance on it either way. I just am indicating that they don't align.
Well, right, and so do you think that they're not, what is being reported on the table of organization in terms of what their responsibilities, say finance operations includes accounting, budget, finance reporting, strategic planning? You don't think that's accurate?
I think that's accurate, but I think the charter also says they're responsible for income tax, treasury, and
But
assessments.
But that's,
falls under treasury. If you look at treasury, income tax and property taxes falls under treasury. So technically that is covering that.
But they're not under finance operations.
right,
They're linear.
Yes.
right. Right, I think what's happened is since this was created, the department has changed. They've expanded, people are doing separate things. And what I'm suggesting is that we take a look at our table of organization and how the city is functioning now.
Yes.
Look at this section and just make sure it's reflecting the way the city's operating now.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not stating that we're operating great or not. It's just not in alignment.
So point two would have to be changed.
Yes,
You're saying to add the chart to that section?
I'm saying remove from the charter under the finance department what the finance department is not doing. They're not doing assessments, income tax, or treasury per the table of organization.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll ask the attorney to update that section to reflect, and then we'll come back and we won't vote on it tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez.
So, in your time, and Ms. Bauer, if the mayor wanted to change things around, did the council have to approve that?
Depends on which mayor you're talking about.
Well, it's just, well,
things around. What things are you talking about?
well, for example, finance. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. So I don't know how this would be on the charter itself. If the charter says finance takes care of all of this, and right now, finance is not taking care of treasury or assessing, their departments on their own. I mean, what's the mechanism to do that? And if the charter says different, or are they not living up to the charter provisions?
We're finding a lot of that is happening. So that's why I think the update will take care of that.
All I'm saying is that any mayor, when he or she comes in, they can change all this stuff around. I mean, the departments today are not what they were 5 years ago.
Correct.
Because different mayors see different ways of putting the blocks together.
Chair, I have a recommendation, or discussion rather. I think rather than having the finance director listed all these areas, it should state simply they work with these departments, because all the administrative portions that are listed on this org chart report to the mayor, right? So the finance director would work with these other departments for these things, but it would, or alongside of, but it would not, they wouldn't report to the finance director, they would all report up to the mayor. That kind of, but it encompasses the financials of the organization, or the city fall under that department.
But I think to Commissioner Lopez's point, in terms of reorganizing or changing departments, the way I'm reading the charter is that it can be done by ordinance, by ordinance you can establish, abolish, and reorganize departments. Other than the fire department, police, and board of water and light. So can a mayor just come in and summarily do that? I think he would have to, or she would have to submit some sort of ordinance change or an ordinance to that effect.
So henceforth, we're proposing that there should be something that allows the mayor to change.
Well, I think that's currently, they currently have that authority. I mean, have you seen any total reorganization, or if they change departments, do they do it by, how are they doing it?
It's been quite a bit since I've seen an executive reorganization that went through the process that you deleted. I know there was a small, subunit of a department switched to a different department, and the city attorney deemed that was not subject to the reorganization. It was just a reassignment of duties, neither of which are charter required departments, but I don't recall seeing an ordinance about a department other than the human resources was reorganized and renamed from the personnel department by ordinance several years ago.
Okay.
So, I mean.
All right. So does that not answer your question? Nope.
She said no. Maybe we should ask somebody else, All
right. Okay, 4303 Fire Department.
No, we didn't finish the two. Did we finish two?
We are going to have the city attorney update that and bring it back to us for consideration at our next meeting.
All right.
4-303.1. Does anybody have any changes to that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2. Yes, Commissioner.
I think that I sent you, this was in my note to you, but if not, let me just say that under number 2, it says the fire chief shall be appointed by the mayor from candidates recommended by the Board of Fire Commissioners. I believe the mayor should hire the fire chief. It should not necessarily come from a recommendation of the board. I think that's the mayor's responsibility, and the mayor should do it.
I don't agree with that.
Madam Vice Chair.
I do not agree with that. The role of the commissioners is to do that. We're taking the responsibility away from the police commissioners, and I know that Commissioner Lopez was a police commissioner, so I would like to hear his input on that.
We didn't have to hire a police chief when I was there.
He said what?
No, but the commission has a, no, police chief, she said fire. No, it's the same
No,
as police, same thing.
What, I'm going with where we are, the fire chief. I'm sorry, I meant fire committee, you know what I meant.
They're the same. They're the same.
Yeah.
Process is the same.
No, it's not.
Okay, so I'm talking about
For the police and-
the fire chief and the Board of Fire Commissioners. I misspoke, I'm sorry. Because I know that you were on that. Well, you're in the, I'm going back to you, the police board. No, you weren't.
Okay. Commissioner Kui.
I still agree with Lori. I don't believe that we want to take the recommendation from the fire commissioners. They would have more insight than the mayor, than that candidate that they put forth.
I mean, this is not a hill for me to die on, but I will say that I think it's fine for the board to play a role. They could offer recommendations, but I think at the end of the day, it's the mayor's job. And
Well, it does say this.
we're talking about a group of volunteers, so we're giving them authority to hire the fire chief. I don't know if that works.
No,
No, they're not.
the fire chief shall be
Just a
hired
second.
from the candidates recommended by the fire board.
Everybody let's deep breath. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I was just going to point out that 2 says, the fire chief shall be appointed by the mayor from the candidates recommended by the Board of Fire Commissioners. So if they recommend 2 or 3, I mean, the mayor has the ultimate decision.
I would just amend that then to say that the fire chief could be appointed by the mayor from a list of candidates, including recommendations from the Board of Fire Commissioners. I really just don't think that a volunteer should have the authority. Again, it's not a hill for me to die on, but I have visions of Elon Musk. Let me just say that.
Commissioner Bauer.
It'd be the other way around.
Whatever.
Commissioner
It'd be
Bauer.
the other way. Board of Fire.
I think that this was put in the charter in 78. I think there is a need to be sure we have some, I don't even know if I want to say citizen oversight, but of police and fire. Those are such important public safety services. So I think the fire board and the police, I think they need this role. I still support that. I know what Commissioner Boyd is saying, and the mayor still has a lot of authority, but I think that there's a reason to give a citizen board in these 2 cases more input, authority, power than other boards. I mean, it would be interesting to, I know that this is getting late, but to hear from the fire board and the police board.
Well, of course they're going to support it. Hello.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Anderson.
Okay.
You have
Guys.
I was just going to say, I think because of the services that fire provides, being fire and EMS, and their role with actual citizens, I think it's important to have residents be engaged in that process and to provide diverse perspectives on who the chief is. And so I am going to support keeping it as is.
Motion here?
I move that we keep it as is.
Oh, wait. Okay. Is there support? Been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Commissioner Boyd voting no. Point 3. I think the same arguments can be made for this provision. Any changes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Point 4.
I move that we adopt the language proposed by Brad Jory that says, the department shall maintain and operate ambulance services, advanced life support, ALS, and other life-saving and emergency services necessary for the welfare of the residents of the city of Lansing. The Lansing Fire Department is designated as the primary provider of emergency medical services, ensuring the highest standards of care as directed by the council.
Yeah, that's point 5. We're
Okay,
at
well,
point 4. But
you know how I
we're
feel
at
about
point 5
point
right
five.
now. We've heard this. We've heard it. We're not going to say it again.
That's why.
Is
That's
there
why I feel about
support?
point five.
Is there support for this? Yeah. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
We handled it.
Hearing none. All those in favor say
No,
aye.
I just want to point out that I still know people who refer to inhalators. I was so grateful that you mentioned that name, because when my grandma died in 1955, they called the inhalator. So thank you very much.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Back to point 4. Thanks, Brad. Any changes here? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Okay, I think we're at a good point to call it for this evening. Good? You want to keep going? It's getting punchy, so. I want to get home, get relaxed, so I can start watching State play some good ball tonight. So, all right. So, getting back. Do you have an agenda? I don't even have my copy here. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we're at the time of public comment.
Okay, speakers will have up to 3 minutes. We have Mike Lynn, followed by Randy Dykheis.
So much to get through. First thing I'm going to say is I really, it's tough for me to say, but I think Andy might have been right when we first brought this thing into play, and I apologize to the community for even bringing up a charter commission change, because I'm scared for the outcome of this. As my coming in here, I've stopped coming to these meetings because of this, but it's so frustrating. The history is just not understood by this board. Like, do you guys even read this stuff before y'all get here? The questions they were asked, like, and then you guys go 5 steps back and then realize that, oh, that was already answered, but you never come back to it. It's just really discombobulated. And you guys are literally writing the Constitution of our city. It's stressful. State of the City address just shouldn't be a process of conversation in this meeting right now. There's just so much. But I feel like when people are trying to bog down a process, being arbitrary about things like that, and like really digging into stupid stuff like that is a way to like bog this process down. But I just want to make some clarity, and I'll talk more about this later on. I'm sure you guys will watch. The HRCS deals with community complaints. That's what they were trying to change their board's duties when they were trying to change it in council, and that was a whole conversation. Because HRCS deals with that. That was a question. FOIA law would dictate how long they have to respond to a FOIA request, so there's no charter conversation around that. You know, you guys talked a lot about what needs to change and all this stuff you just talked about. Like, none of it matters. You know, you're talking about the fire board and whether or not they brought forth the last 3 applicants for fire chief. Of course they didn't, even though it's in the charter. So what y'all need to talk about, as I said the first time I came here, is punishment for those who don't comply. All the things that you guys got done talking about, well, this is in the charter, but we see that's not being done. What's the punishment for that? I think it's written in the charter. I think it's a 90-day misdemeanor for violating this charter. Bring these folks to ethics complaints when we're not holding this charter right. Other than that, I've got so much. Jason Hogan is the Chief Administrative or Information Officer. Kristen Rumby is the Deputy Mayor. If we have new information, use it. I understand the internet or the website doesn't say it, but if we have new information, January 14th, the mayor announced his new appointees for deputy mayor. So when we have this new information, use it. We don't have to argue with each other. When you hear it come from the crowd, just look it up. It's there. These departments are the mayor's departments, so do not change the charter to represent what the mayor has done over the last 8 years. He's changing. Thank you, Lopez, for bringing that up. Like he can do what he wants from his executive position. So a lot of what I'm seeing you guys battle is the fact that you guys have a strong mayor. You guys are upset about it. Like we want to change this, that. He can do what he wants. You guys gave him a $1.5 million budget, not you, but the council did. He can hire whoever he wants under that. So that's not really your position to tell him who he can and can't hire. He can hire an executive assistant. He can call that person Superman. There ain't nothing y'all can do about it. Why change the charter to reflect it? So I really am opposed to you guys changing the charter to reflect different departments. The next mayor, after this mayor's done, will come in and do a different thing. And you guys are really solidifying what the next 12 years looks like. So much more. Can't even get to all of it. But yeah, man, do some research. You guys fumble after your way through this whole thing.
Thank you. Next, we have Randy Dykeheis, followed by Frederick McLaughlin.
Okay, couple of reactions. You haven't gone back to Article 3, the internal auditor, yet. You've heard strong support from 3 sitting city council members asking to bring BWL under the internal auditor of the city. So I'm really asking you to go back to Article 3 and look at that. It hasn't been done yet. And then Chapter 3, or Article 3, Chapter 3 and Article 4, 301.6 about no executive agency having administrative oversight of the BWL board, I think is exactly right. You've heard me complain several times about BWL and the Board of Commissioners, their ineffectiveness and so on. However, the form of governance ought to be the same. They ought to be administratively separate from the city with a separate administrative board. However, that does not mean that they can't be audited by the city. Those are 2 completely different things. Administrative oversight means having day-to-day management of the operations there. We're not talking about operational management. We're talking about is having oversight. The city having oversight of what's going on with the finances and other processes and procedures within the Board of Water and Light, and that should be the purview of the city. And then lastly, I second what you just heard from Michael Lynn about putting into the charter consequences for not following the charter. The Chair Jeffries mentioned that again tonight, that there have been numerous citations over the course of your meetings where articles have not been followed, not recommendations, but requirements in the charter have not been followed. You need to build in some consequences for that and when that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Frederick McLaughlin, followed by Erica Lynn.
Okay, so so I can get to my notes here. So in Article 4, Chapter 2, 4-203, 201.3, when you were talking about the executive assistant, it mentions, quote, equivalent experiences in a field other than government, and which sounds like kind of a stock phrase, and I'm not quite sure there is such a thing. I'm trying to think of an example that certainly wouldn't come out of the business world. Those seem like very different experiences, like a CEO of a business. I don't know, maybe the head of an educational institution or the head of a nonprofit. I'm trying to think of equivalent experiences, but that's just some random thoughts on that. We didn't get to this topic yet, but I'll bring it up again later, but for Article 4-306 Planning Department, I would strongly recommend that a statement is made in there that the planning department be specifically named the City of Lansing Planning Department with no mention of economic development. Now, that's, the economic development titling is not spoken to in the charter as far as I know, but it actually has that reference on it, and there's so much more to planning than economic development. It's just one part of it. You know, you have to deal with all of these other various and sundry issues. And I have to agree really with Commissioner Bauer in her executive assistant discussion comparing Mr. Trump and Musk. I think you made that.
Thank you. Next, we have Erica Lynn, followed by Linda Appling.
Good evening, everyone. Long time no see. So I just wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the narrative that's been, I guess we could say, in the news or topic of conversation around change and why this commission was, put together, why it was put to a vote, and what the people did or didn't vote for. That narrative was built way before now. That was a narrative that was built during the campaigning process, during the election process. It was absolutely used as kind of a weapon. It was used to kind of divide folks on one side or the other. I think it was, mentioned those that wanted radical change, those that didn't want change at all, those that wanted change for personal endeavors or whatever the case may be. But I think that narrative persisting today, it's very dangerous because I think that it changes the way people move. And I think we watch that over and over. I may not come in person, but I do watch the Charter Commission meetings, and it's really pervasive. The fact is that a review of anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're reviewing something, it should be considered an evaluation at the very least. So if you're evaluating something, you're looking at, right now, the charter. How is it serving the people of Lansing? How can we get closer to it serving us the way that it should be now, but also for, that long-term future? But a review is inherently not a passive process. It should never be a passive process. It's not just discussion for the sake of discussion, but that narrative being built, it does affect decisions, and it makes it hard for us to believe that everyone collectively is operating in good faith. I think a lot of the time that's focused on discussion on a lot of arbitrary details, that even if those arbitrary details are changed, there's so many more sections that warrant much larger changes that even if you change those, there have already been others that were already changed in a very oppressive way. They've just been glossed over or just decided to keep a status quo. So it's really hard to focus on those arbitrary discussions on details that really don't matter because the larger ones are the ones that have the most impact. Example, tonight's focus was executive branch. So with the executive branch, a lot of the time in discussion was spent on the title of a position that actually doesn't even exist in the current charter. On an event that doesn't exist in the current charter. It's not a requirement. And moving the date of a very important thing that actually does exist in the charter to give more time, but it didn't at all. These discussions address the very glaring issue that wasn't just brought up several times tonight, but it's been brought up by the people, it's been brought up by you all in other discussions, that there are things in the charter that just aren't operating as intended, or they're just simply not working. So a suggestion that I would have is making sure that our discussion time is better spent on clarifying, enhancing, strengthening the language around Article 4 as a whole. That's what the conversation should be around. Modifying language so people aren't confused around it.
Thank you. Linda Appling and then Brad Joray.
I will continue where I left off. Now, the second argument against the 4 at-large council members focus on the mistaken belief that this allows for an excessive introduction of money to affect the election outcome. This argument lacks any support whatsoever. First, smaller units will be easier to influence by finances. The primary example of this is the U.S. House of Representatives. Increasingly, the House is swayed by the amount of money flowing into the district. Due to the smaller nature of the area, it is easier to influence the outcome of the election. This is in direct contrast to the Senate. Senate areas are larger and require more money to influence the outcome. Thus, the amount of money has less influence on the outcome of the election of senators. This pattern is prevalent in our local elections specifically. The ability to influence the council is mitigated by the size of the at-large districts. It takes more money to influence the election of the at-large council members than the wards in terms of that. A third issue that has arisen is the issue of meetings with the public has been brought up. Individual council members do hold meetings. These meetings are attended by at-large council members. Also, at-large council members attend neighborhood meetings on a regular basis. I know this because I am president of Leno, and at-large council members have attended our meetings, so I don't know where the argument is here. They do attend those meetings in relationship to that. The third issue I would like to bring up is Board of Water and Light. I am totally confused in terms of where this council is. I'm gonna be frank with it, I am in no way happy with the Board of Water and Light. We have one of the highest rates in terms of that. My God, why in the world do I have to avoid using my electricity between the hours, I think it is between 2 and 6 p.m. I should not have to do that. I am retired. It is my money. I'm paying for that stupid Board of Water and Light, and I don't appreciate this. It affects retirees significantly. It affects women that stay at home. It affects people that may be disabled. Why are you allowing this? In my opinion, the Board of Water and Light final decision should be put up under the council. It is ridiculous for us to have to pay for this and have virtually no way to challenge it. There is no way that we can challenge what happens in the Board of Water and Light. And I do request that they be put up under the city council.
Thank you. Next is Brad Jure, followed by Farhan Sheikh Omar.
Good evening again. I just wanted to come up and express my gratitude from all the firefighters at Local 421 that you took up, looked at, and eventually passed our amendment to the city charter. I feel as though that adds us a level of insulation and protection so that we can continue to provide the highest care to the citizens of Lansing. I also would like to speak briefly on the fire board. I would like to say that the fire board carries a very, very important role in that us, my local and labor are very happy with the relationship with the fire board. It brings the level of transparency to the community. They are able to speak with the fire chiefs, voice their concerns. They're able to ask for any number of things. And I feel as though if they want to be part of the hiring process for a fire chief, I feel as though that is another level of insulation that gives a voice to the taxpayers and the citizens of Lansing. They might not be the final say, the mayor may have the final say, but there is a level of transparency, and they will know and they get to know these candidates. Also with the, I want to speak briefly on the hiring processes. In the past, our hiring process has been very slow, very drawn out. And in this day and age where fully trained firefighter paramedics or fully trained firefighter EMTs are so hard to come by and so hard to capture, our hiring practices are making us lose potential great candidates to come in and work and possibly live in the city. I would urge this city charter commission to maybe take a look at that and see if we can maybe have some sort of hybrid system or give a little more back to the fire department so we can quickly and efficiently hire the best, most qualified candidates that can come in and help us deal with the ever rising call volume and workload in this city. So once again, thank you for your time, and you all have a good night.
Thank you. And finally, we have Joy Gleason.
Good evening once again. I'm just going to go through a couple of things quickly. You talked about the city attorney and varied ethics that can go through, and that just reminded me of a time in our recent past when a few $100,000 tax dollars were paid out to a litigant against the behavior of the mayor at that time for what we will never know, because the city attorney told us that we couldn't know, which is probably a point of legality. However, most of us have the feeling that there is something nefarious that we just don't know, and that relationship between the mayor and the city attorney needs to have a little more distance between it. I also want to speak up that I am in favor of 9 council members. I would like to offer the solution of 6 wards and 3 at-large members. It is important to have some at-large members, and if having 4 at-large members is very important, perhaps we'll have 5 wards and 4 at-large, but certainly keep that in mind. And finally, I too would like to finish what I started in the beginning. I didn't get to the very end. It's like Pandora's box was open, all the evil came out, the timer slammed shut before I had the opportunity to encourage the commissioners who do understand that the reason they are here is to change the charter from an antiquated set of rules from a bygone era to a set of guidelines for 21st century Lansing. I encourage you to stay strong and keep working to create a better Lansing for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any?
I know this is something we've talked about a couple of times, but I truly believe we're not going to be done by May, our May goal deadline. And so I would like to just bring up again that we should add some more meetings. And I know there was a proposed schedule brought up last meeting and I wasn't here, but I just would like to circle back on that. If not this meeting, the next meeting, of just adding in some dates.
Mr. Boyd.
First of all, apologies to the commission that I have to do this, but since Ms. Gleason was the first to bring this up at the beginning of our meeting, I just want to set the record straight. I may have misspoke last time when I talked about what voters talked about and what they did last November, in November of '23. The question before them was, shall there be a general revision of the charter? That is what we are doing. When I ran for this office, I did not, when I went to candidate nights, I made no proclamations. I did not consider myself an obstructionist, as I've been called tonight. I said I did not know much about the charter. I was coming in with a blank slate, an open mind, and that is how I have approached everything that we've talked about at this table. I want to say that I came in 4th when it came to votes. I think the people who have been on the ballot before outvoted me, got more votes than I did. I think, Joan, you got the most votes, but I came in 4th. And I want to say that I have no intention of resigning this position. It was brought up tonight by Ms. Gleason that I should resign. Others have said it on Facebook. I have no intention of resigning, so I apologize for that. I feel badly if it upsets you, but I have no intention of resigning. I came here to do a review. I have voted on changes to the charter. We have more important issues before us, and I will look at them. I have set out and talked to people, former and current office holders in the city, to find out how they feel about things. I've talked to my neighbors how they feel about things. I mean, I'm taking this very seriously as I can. Now, I understand that my votes may not coincide with how you all feel, and I appreciate that, and I respect that. That's our democracy. I may feel differently than you feel about certain issues, But I'm going to vote my conscience after I have spent time reviewing issues. And so I just want to say that. I respect that you don't like me or you don't like my point of view. I respect that. But I am here to do a job. I was elected to do a job, and I'm going to see it through. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Hearing none. We're adjourned.
President, you should never let a person speak on a community member like that, like that is ridiculous that you allowed that to happen. And I'm not mad at you, but I'm just saying in future reference, if I had a year, if you named me like that, I took
beautiful coven. Right. And we had to do that with our sister witches. But also, it really just comes back to